Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you to the ACSI Nigeria webinar on government requirements for school reopening. So my name is Sarah, and I'm just going to take you through a few announcements and prayers before we go ahead and get started. So again, we want to welcome you all this afternoon and thank you so much for joining us. Let's pray. Our God and our Father, we thank you for the opportunity to join through Zoom for this webinar. We thank you for the speakers who are coming to share with us, share the knowledge that you've given them to help our schools as we think about reopening, God. I pray that this webinar would be insightful for all of our schools and that it would equip them to know how best to serve their students and serve their families when they reopen. We know that different states are opening at different times, God, so I pray that you would prepare each of the schools that are here from different states as they plan towards resumption, God. I pray that you would be with the speakers, speak through them this afternoon. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, so just a few announcements before we go ahead and get started. We're going to have two presentations today. The first one will be on blended learning in practical terms as we prepare for school resumption. And the second presentation will be on the Office of Education Quality Assurance Lagos State requirements. So if you're not from Lagos State and you feel like it won't be relevant for you, you can go ahead and leave after the first topic. So we'll have a Q&A immediately after the first topic, and we'll have a Q&A after the second topic. So if you have any questions at any point, put them in the chat and then we'll direct those questions to the facilitator. Or if you want to raise your hand using the Zoom function, you can also do that as well. So if at any point you get cut off the presentation, we are recording it and we will put it up on YouTube. So if you get out or if you miss something or network is not cooperating, it will be on YouTube by tomorrow, so you can watch it again there. So we want to welcome our first facilitator this afternoon, who's going to be speaking on blended learning. We want to welcome the Director of Schools for Dansol Christian Mission, Mr. Oladapo. So we want to welcome you, sir. We're really grateful that you're able to come this afternoon to share with us more, so you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Good afternoon. I want to appreciate God for this opportunity, as well as appreciating the ACSI for the privilege. Are you live? Hello?
Yeah, we're hearing you, sir. It's breaking a bit, but we're hearing you.
Showing on screen. It's my slide.
No, you're not. Okay, give us 1 second. Welcome for those of you that are just joining. Welcome. We're just about to get started. If you've not already, go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us what your name is, the school that you're coming from, and the state that you're joining us from as well. You're welcome, sir. You're still muted, so if you can unmute yourself, you're welcome. Hello, sir. You're still muted. We're seeing your slides now, but you're still muted. Okay, we're hearing you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry about that. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
I want
afternoon,
to
sir.
share with us blended learning in practical terms as school resumes for the 2020-2021 academic year. My name is E. Oladapon, the Director of Schools, Dance of Christian Mission, Lagos, Nigeria. Blended learning, as we all know, is a style of education in which learners learn via electronic and online media, as well as the traditional face-to-face teaching, that is physical in school and virtual at home. Of course, we can also refer to that as hybrid learning, which is most likely that learners are already engaged in this kind of approach in our schools even before now. This came up as a result of the new normal in our educational sector. Some of us that are in Lagos State, we were privileged to attend some of the meetings organized by the Lagos State Ministry of Education through the Office of Education Quality Assurance, where some information were passed across to schools on the reopening processes, part of which the Director General categorically stated that for schools to reopen, management of schools must plan on the reopening processes. And she was quick to give different methods. She talked about the shift method. She talked about the blended approach. And she laid serious emphasis on using the alternative modules for imparting knowledge. And the most important aspect of this alternative module is the use of technology through virtual learning. And the best in the circumstances, especially for schools with very thick population, is the blended approach, which of course I said is a combination of the face-to-face traditional classroom teaching approach that we normally have, as well as learners being taught at home. Learners being taught at home. It's a new normal, but sincerely is gaining more popularity. It's also important for us to note that the blended approach will involve some set of students coming to school on certain days, physically present in school, while on other days, they are virtually taught at home. Some of these were equally stated in the school reopening processes as spelled out by the Lagos State Ministry of Education. Mr. Oludupe will be talking about the registration, but it's important for us as schools under the umbrella of the Association of Christian Schools International, that for our reopening operational plans, especially in Lagos State, it's important that we have an appointed COVID-19 manager, an appointed learning manager, as well as a reopening processing contact officer. When you go through the registration details on school reopening processes, we get details about this. And Mr. Oludupe will be sharing with us shortly. What are the roles of teachers in this blended approach? Learners' engagement here is going to be total. Both the learning physically in school as well as virtually at home. Our teachers, that is our instructors, will still continue to teach in normal way, but now making it more engaging, collaborative approach, coaching the learners, guiding the learners, encouraging the learners, as well as interacting more with the learners through collaborative efforts during both lessons, that is virtual and physical, which is tagged the blended learning. Learners' need for improvement in performance will be better enhanced, both in the school and even at home, as learners' learning and understanding will be consolidated both ways. It's going to give room for more engaging classroom situation, both in the physical classroom and even virtually at home. What are some of the benefits of blended learning approach? One, it will track and improve the engagement of learners. Through blended learning, there will be opportunity to make a clear roadmap for our learners. Teachers can visualize and track learners' progress. This process will make it easier to identify learners' academic weaknesses as well as their strengths. And of course, we enable the teachers to act on them accordingly. Through blended learning, there will be enhanced communication. Young people, you agree with me? Young people nowadays, they are growing up with more technology. And through that, through blended learning, which has a very strong emphasis on technology, we reach our learners better and faster than our traditional approach within the four corners of the classroom. Because virtual classrooms will connect teachers with learners more effectively. Through blended learning, there will be easy access and flexibility in our lesson delivery. Learners can have access to more academic materials without constraints. Access to academic materials. Later, I will use my school as for demonstrating the practical approach. They will have more access to materials, and of course, without constraints. Increased satisfaction and effectiveness. These days, especially they are talking about 21st century learning skills, learners prefer to have a variety of ways to learn. Therefore, the diverse formats of education through blended learning will be a more effective way for learners to learn rather than only sitting in a physical classroom setting as we have even before the lockdown. The blended approach, I see it as another blessing, post-COVID-19 blessing. that open the eyes of schools to better ways of reaching out to our learners, even outside the four corners of our classrooms. Effect on teachers. Of course, practically, workload will be more than before, but this can be reduced because the set of teachers that will be engaging those learners physically in school will also be the same set of teachers that will be engaging them verbally at home. But of course, this can be resolved through a planned and structured lesson timetable. And this reduction in period will alleviate teachers' workload if we plan it very well through a structured lesson timetable. Effect on other stakeholders. Of course, blended approach will have effect on other stakeholders, effect on the school, the parents, even as well as the learners. The first one is the fees. Parents are likely to raise issues on fees since the learners will not be physically present in school throughout the week. I mean, I've started attending to that in my own school. They may ask the school to cut down on fees. And this, in effect, will affect the school budget, since all staff will still be fully paid by the school, whether they are engaging the learners physically or virtually. All staff members will still be fully paid. So it will have effect on the school. Of course, it will equally have effect on parents. Transportation. Issues are likely to arise as regards the bill for transport. We should not forget that the COVID instruction is 60% capacity. In my own school, we've adopted 50% capacity. And we should also not be unmindful of the fact that the learners will not be coming to school physically from Monday through Friday. So a lot of issues will come up here under transport. The parents will come up and begin to calculate for school. Of course, the drivers who will pilot those buses will equally collect full salaries. Their salaries will not be cut down. That's another effect on the part of the parent, as well as on the part of the school as regards transport. Data usage as well as electricity is going to affect both the school and the parents. The school, for instance, the bandwidth will have to be increased because all teachers must be internet connected. On the part of the parents too, they will pay school fees and they will still run expenses on data and generator. They are going to raise all these issues. And raising these issues, they will want to use it to back up their point of reduction in school fees. Network issues. I experienced it as I was about to start my presentation. I experienced network problem right away in the office, not even in my house. Some learners are likely to miss lessons due to poor internet provision, poor internet service provision in Nigeria. What are we going to do? How are we going to make up with these learners? When we get to my practical aspect using Danso as a case study, I will address this on what we plan to do. And of course, another effect on parents will be monitoring of learners. Most of the parents are just returning to work after the lockdown. Who will monitor the learners while the parents are out to work on the days they have to stay at home under the blended approach? Because the blended approach is some days they will be in school physically, And some other days, they will be at home to be taught virtually. Who will monitor these learners? We are looking at, in Lagos State, the pre-primary pupils are yet to resume. Primary 1 to 6, GS1. Who will, even SS3, who will monitor the learners while the parents are out? Some are likely to be exposed to sites that are not educationally productive. So these are the likely effects that blended approach may bring in. Now, the Danso approach. That's my school, and that's why I want to use that as a good case study towards the blended approach to education, even as we resume for this new academic year. In Danso schools, that is the nursery primary as well as the high school, the blended approach will be a method of teaching that we integrate technology and digital media. That is, we plan to use Zoom to interact with our learners, as well as Microsoft Teams to upload content to learners. And that will quickly take me to the issue of a network. That will take me to the issue of network under the effect. In case we have learners that will likely miss out due to poor internet service provision, contents are currently being uploaded into Teams for learners to have the materials needed. And there will be makeup for such category of learners because attendance will be taken. There will be makeup for them when they miss lessons due to network situation. So we plan to use Zoom to interact with our learners, as well as Microsoft Teams to upload content to our learners. With our traditional instructor, that is our teacher-led classroom activities due to our school population, and the quest to maintain adequate physical distancing. So the blended approach has really helped us as a school. And that is why you are seeing on my screen, we have two groups for Danso High School, Group A and Group B. Group A of our set of students, in line with the reopening operational plan, are spelled out through the reopening processes assessment of 50% capacity. Some of our students, the Group A will be attending physical classes Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday, and that is approximately 50% of our population, well spaced. The government, under reopening operational plan of the government, through the Office of Education Quality Assurance, gave 1.5 by 2 meter physical distancing. With this blended approach in Danso, we've been able to achieve 2 by 2 meter physical distancing, more than even the government prescription, through this blended approach. This approach to us will give our learners more flexibility to customize their learning experiences, and we also enable us as a school to adequately comply with all COVID-19 protocols on school reopening, which Mr. Oludipe will be taking us through shortly. With Danso High School projected 2020-2021 school population, as we have it on the screen, there will be two groups of learners that will be taught through the blended learning approach. And this will run from Monday to Friday. We run from Monday to Friday, just as displayed on the screen. The Group A set of learners. This will be made up of an assembly of learners who will be physically present in school on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, at 20 students well spaced 2 by 2 meter physical distancing per class through this blended approach. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, this group A set of students will be at home to connect fully with their subject teachers via Zoom and Microsoft Teams. According to their virtually planned lesson timetable. You know, I said something earlier on that for this blended approach to be better managed, there must be a well-structured, planned lesson timetable. We incorporate both the physical and the online classes. Then the second group, that's the group B, will be made up of a set of learners that will be virtually taught by their teachers on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Note that Group A will be physically taught on those days. So while Group A will be physically present in school, Group B will be virtually taught on those days at home. And of course, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they will be physically present in school, also maintaining physical distancing policy as stated earlier. The greatest advantage of this, apart from allowing school to comply with the physical distancing policy and all other COVID protocols, is that the approach will promote deep learning. Of course, will reduce stress. It will increase learner satisfaction. And most importantly, it will make it possible for the physical distancing to be better achieved in our school. I said earlier on that Mr. Orikwe will take us through the requirements, especially for Lagos state schools. The website is there, that is www.oeqlagos.com. We've been able to get ours perfected, and we equally receive our certificate of achievement, having gone through all the courses that, and after the certificate for moving for school reopening course, is after the school received the certificate that a formal request will be made to the Office of Education Quality Assurance to visit our school. So it's important that we take advantage of this before the site is busy, to get our schools, especially our key management members, to get them go through this reopening course. We need to select management members, we select senior staff members, including our chief security officer. It's very, very important. And by the time we get all this done, we'll be rest assured that we'll not have an issue with the government. Concluding, the blended learning is a new normal. I said earlier on that some of our schools have been using this without really getting to know that this is blended approach. When you teach your learners in class, you send assignment through WhatsApp, you send assignment through to them through their teams. Those are under blended. It is a new normal in the Nigerian educational system, and it will benefit our school if properly planned. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your presentation. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Jide, and he is going to go through the Q&A with us. So if you have questions, please send questions to chat, or you can raise your hand. as Mr. Lavakbo answers our questions. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. So let's have our questions come in for our speaker. Thank you so much, Mr. Oladapo, for that wonderful presentation. I'm sure most of us have one or two questions and concerns. Okay, someone is asking if you could send your presentation. Okay, I'm still waiting for questions. You can raise your hand if you want to talk. Any comments, questions? Okay, someone is asking a question. People have discussed having challenges with registration online. How did you do yours?
Okay, we even before the last meeting with the Ministry of Education, we took advantage of the early opening of the sites. I think I did for my schools, that is the primary school and the high school, even in the month of August. But I will encourage schools to log on to this site early in the morning or even late at night. During daytime, the site is always busy. You will not get connected. And it's important that the administrator, because the site, when you open the site, you visit the site. When you log on to that www.oeqalagos.com, the first page that we open is complete the registration column, where you supply information about the school official email address, which should be done by an accredited administrator, or better still, I refer to that here as the reopening processing contact officer. Through the official school email, a username and password will be sent. And that is what is the username and the password. The username, of course, is the school email. But the password will be generated by the Office of Education Quality Assurance and will be sent to schools. It is the username as well as the password that will be used by whoever the management will nominate to partake in this assessment, school reopening assessment. But I will strongly advise that we have more of our management team as well as the senior officers, including the security and safety officer. You log in early in the morning or late at night. During the day, the site is always busy. You will find it so difficult to log in. Of course, when they generate that password for you, you can do that. You can log in any time of the day, but I advise early in the morning or late at night. There are about 8 courses, videos you have to watch, you have to listen. The system will automatically tick when you complete watching a particular video. You cannot skip it. And after watching the video, the Director General Office of Education Quality Assurance will address you virtually and we send a congratulatory message to you having completed that course. And the system will automatically navigate you to the assessment portal. The assessment portal, there are 20 structured questions. It's open-ended because it has options. Each participant must have a minimum score of 80. If you score less than 80, the system will automatically display failed. You failed course. If you score from 80 and above, the system will say passed. and the system will navigate you. If you score from 18 and above, if you score below 80, the system will put you back, retake the course, and you can retake. There is no time limit. The time given is unlimited, so you can retake. You can retake as you know. So if you score from 80 and above, the system will navigate you to the next line of action to congratulate you, and we tell you that you'll be waiting for your certificate. But I will advise, because a lot of schools are having this problem, I will advise you log in the night or early in the morning. If you try that, you get it done in less than 1 hour, 30 minutes. You get it done. And after that, in less than 5-10 minutes, you get your certificate sent to your mail.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for that eye-opener. This also happens to students when they want to write JAMB or want to register for WAEC. Because of the traffic to the website is usually slow, so it's advisable we do it very early in the morning or late at night. So I have another question for you. The question is that you didn't deal with how to respond to questions you raised with respect to parents on data, power, etc.
Thank you very much. Okay, maybe I should just take them quickly. On fees.
Okay.
On fees, for instance, I want to use my school as a case study. On fees, we appeal to the parents, because some kept on saying that my child will come to school twice in a week. My child will come to school thrice in a week. I appeal to them and made them to see the fact that coming to school twice in a week, coming to school thrice in a week is not what we plan, and it's not what we have on our blended approach. Academic programs will take place from Monday to Friday. The only difference is they will not be within the 4 corners of the classroom on certain days. But the fact still remains that they will be fully engaged the way they would have been fully engaged physically in school. So we pleaded, and there was no cut in our fees. We made them see reasons to why they have to pay the fee. And even teachers engaging those learners virtually at home. We also increase the cost of our data, even in school. And when there is no light, of course, we have to provide the electricity too to get them connected. So we pleaded, we had series of engagement with them. We virtually, through Zoom, for them to see reasons on this. We went at the general meeting. We equally organize class meetings. And with that, we started seeing the results. On transport, what we did on transport, 18-seater, the government said 60%. We are using 50%. That is, a bus that will take 18. When we Zoom on Friday, the bus will take 9. And for those set of learners that we group the transport usage into 2 categories too. Group A, maintaining the grouping that I mentioned earlier on. Those set of students that will come to school physically Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they have certain amount of money they will pay for bus because they will use the bus just for 3 days. And group B that we use that bus physically for 2 days, of course, they equally have certain amount of money that they will pay. So we met because we don't own all the buses. We called the meetings of the bus owners, we met with them, and we arrived at a certain amount of money, which we see to be very okay for both the operators, the school, and the parents. And that's exactly what we are doing as regards the transport issue. On data usage and electricity, as a school, we've increased our bandwidth, but sincerely we encourage parents. It's a new normal, and it calls for the major players in this game, the school, the parents, even the learners to sacrifice. So we appeal to them that they should take that as part of sacrificing for this season. It's a season that we know will not stand the test of time. By His grace, it will soon be over. And with that, we are good to go. I've talked about the network issue. And I've equally talked about monitoring of learners. I said that, okay, I didn't address that. Who will monitor? It's a very big challenge, because we will not say parents should not go to work. But of course, we've mapped out strategies on the part of our teachers. No child will be allowed to partake in the online lesson without putting on your video. The teacher must see you. If they are using devices that does not encourage that, they must put their name. You know, some will have nicknames. You must put your name. You must, we're encouraging them as much as possible to put on their videos while on the Zoom. And we're equally encouraging parents. Some they run businesses on their own, that they can have one of, they can have a particular place in their office where their words can stay, just for monitoring. So those are the little things we are putting in place to see how best we can assist in monitoring the learners. Hello, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir.
There's one more question before we move on. So someone wants to know if it is compulsory to do the blended learning, if you can accommodate all your pupils. So do schools
very good.
that do not have
very good. You know, I thank you very much, sir. It's not compulsory. I don't want to mention schools here. I have schools around me. You know, we do relate and share information. If your school population is not an instruction that must be followed by government. Even the DG actually said what will be suitable for your school. What will be suitable depending on the population. I have school around me here that they are all coming fully. Money to closing because of the population. We adopted blended approach because of our population, and we cannot compromise anything on COVID-19 protocols. So it's not compulsory, sir. We have shift method. So we have shift method. We have staggered method. The shift method is that some will come from 7:30 to 12. Another set will come from 1 to 4 thereabout. Of course, we also have staggered method as practiced in Lagos, in Ogun State public schools, 3 hours per group, depending on the population. You can also run fully from morning to closing, depending on your population. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate your contributions. Thanks for the insight. I would like to hand over to Sarah now to introduce the next speaker. Thank you, Mr. Oladapo.
Thank you very much, sir. God bless you.
Amen. Sarah.
Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate all the insights that you're able to share with us. So I want to turn it over now to Mr. Segun Olulikpe, who is the National Administrator for ACSI Nigeria. And he's going to be talking specifically about the Office of Education Quality Assurance Lagos State requirements. So if you are not from Lagos State, this might not be so applicable to you, but you're welcome to stay and join as well. So thank you, sir. You're welcome.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
We can hear you. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. I want to appreciate God for the privilege to share with us this afternoon. I want to welcome you all. I want to appreciate Mrs. Abdulakemiju who is the director of ACSI Nigeria and West African Anglophone countries, the board members present, state coordinators, and all ACSI representatives. Mr. Oladapo has done a fantastic work, and that is why I don't have much to do now. He has done a fantastic work. So I want to appreciate you for that introduction. And one of the major areas is the online registration. And number one thing I have in mind that he has said is that it's better you do it in the morning or late in the night. And the Commissioner of Education said specifically that they're not going to penalize any school for that for now because of the traffic. However, I want to encourage you to do it early in the morning or you do it late in the night. And it's not a thing some of us may not do it for one day. You can do it for 2 days or 3 days. Please don't give up. And you have also been told, based on the questions I've been asked, if you don't score up to 80%, you will still need to repeat the registration again. You will not be able to move to the next level if you don't score up to 80%. I'm trusting God that God will give us wisdom in Jesus' name. I have some 6 points I want to mention here before quickly going, before I go to my slides. Please take note that we've been sending some information platforms on this registration. Please, if you are not registered with ACSI Nigeria, please do. If you are not on our WhatsApp platform, please, you can request or send information to us on info@acsinigeria.org. info@acsinigeria.org. We've been sending information and we will continue to send information to you. Lagos State has also done similar webinar on how to register online. We have sent the link before, and if you want us to also send the YouTube link to you, we can also do that to you so that at the end of the day, this job is made easy for you. Number 2 thing I want to say is we need to be prayerful, we need to be watchful, we need to be deliberate and intentional about what we are doing in this period. In fact, I will tell you need to be more prayerful at this period. You can put all necessary measures in place, fine, but you also need prayer. You need intercession. Please watch and pray. Number 3, email address, phone numbers will be displayed on the chat box. You can contact them or you can contact the Office of Education Quality Assurance if you have any. You can call 08028764828. I'm going to repeat again, 08028764828. It's going to be displayed on the chat box. You don't need to bother yourself. And I wouldn't mind to still send this presentation to you. I can send to you later. So there's no need for us to panic. We are trying our best in the sure that you are also, you are doing the right thing. Number 4, you need to have a written safety plan or policy. I need to involve your parents, children, your students. You need to involve your management. I want to plead with you, please, put those policies. And number 5, you need to put in place a committee. Mr. Oladapo mentioned it clearly. There's need for you to have a committee for safety. And let the committee include your chief security officer, the health officer in your school, or maybe a medical personnel. Let it include also one of your parents or 2 of your parents. Let it include some of your management staff. And I pray that the Lord will see us through in Jesus' name. Quickly, I'll go to my slide. This is the flow, registrations and self-assessments. From there, you go to the online training that he spoke about. And after that, you will get your clearance. This is the link is there. You can send to you, but you can also go to this link and be better trained. The school owner stroke leader registers the school and takes the online course on behalf of the school. Like Mr. Adapo said, at least 3 management level staff, teacher or individual must take the online courses. Please take notes. They are different. You can check the link. If you want to write, you can write. However, we can still send the link to you. Like Mr. Adapo mentioned, the next thing you will see is this page, school registration. The LCDA, school, the name of the school owner, among others. This is the first page, and that is the step 1. Please take notes. You are to register according to your registration with the state government. If, for example, you register both your junior, if you register with the state government separately, the junior secondary school, primary section separately, you are expected
It looks like network has cut out, so just give us a few more minutes as we get Mr. Shegun back on.
All right, I can hear you. Can I go ahead now, Sarah?
Yeah, you can go ahead, sir. You're back.
Okay. That is what Mr. Adapo said the other time, that sometimes this network can misbehave. But we thank God I'm back. In step 1 again, from the email you will receive after registration, you need to download and thoroughly review 3 supporting documents. You have it there. You can use that. The Federal Ministry of Education guidelines. You have the safeguarding and child protection reporting procedures for schools in Lagos State. You have self-assessment and safety checklists for reopening of schools in Lagos State. The Google Drive will also include a folder reopening to houses, all sample tools, the templates, etc. for schools to create the plans. Now let's quickly talk about the self-assessment. Under the self-assessment, you need to use ensure that you use this to assess your school. Number 1 thing you need to do is, number 1, determine whether the school meets the standard of safety recommended for reopening. You will check. This self-assessment will also help you to determine whether your management, what is expected of them in terms of security. This checklist will also help school management in clearly identifying areas of weakness or improvement. It will also serve as centralized tracker of safety issues. All this will not be submitted, but it's meant for your use. And you need to ensure that you use this with your staff and your management. Let's quickly go to the second step. The second step is the online training. The training should be streamed for all board members and staff in the school. However, a minimum of 3 management level staff or teacher must register individually and complete the online course. Let me quickly clear here, because there was a question we asked the commissioner. What if your school don't have board members? We encourage to constitute a committee. So you can constitute a committee in your school to serve as board, comprising parents, teachers, students, parents, teachers, and maybe the management, so as to constitute the board, or stakeholders to constitute the board. The principal of the school or the head of school will be the first person to register, and after that, at least 3 other management staff will also register to do same. A code will be given to you, and that code will also be used by the 3 management staff. Step 3, which is clearance. You need to upload electronic copy of school owners stroke leader certificates, and that of at least 3 management teacher or staff. Like I said, you're going to have 4 at the end of the day. You upload electronic copies on your required plans. The visit from the Office of Quality Assurance towards achieving the Safe to Learn reopening permits will be done. Can I say this to us? After you are done, you can invite them. They are not actually expected to come to your school until you have submitted this, but perhaps they may come. When they come, just tell them how far you have gone. You can't be penalized for this. Tell them how far you have done. That does not mean we should be lackadaisical about what is expected of us to do. And that is why they've given us phone contacts. If you have issues with registration, please don't forget to contact. They gave us WhatsApp number, they gave us a phone contact, and also email, an email address that you can send your request to. I've said that already is already on the chat platform. Lagos State School reopening process. Let's look at this very fast. Operational plan, utilization schedule. Number 2, we have the health and safety plan. That has to do with monitoring, sanitation, PPE, learning plan. We have the data and communication plan. Let's quickly explain that because of time. The first has to do with utilization. Floor plan with at least 1.5 meter to 2 meter social distancing between students and students per room. We asked a question, and that is why they've asked us, you can do you can use different methods for opening, either staggered attendance, alternate attendance, blended learning, platooning, or you can also, use other available classrooms. In fact, the DG said you can even use your library, or you can use your laboratories if they are not necessary for use now, so that you can have at least 1.5 to 2 meter social distance, and for all classrooms. You are expected to map this out, and it's going to be part of the thing you will send to Lagos State. If your classroom have the same square meter, you can send the one. But if you have different, maybe different sizes of classroom, you are to do for all the classrooms and send to Lagos State. You also need to map out the all-way traffic plan so that students can give themselves enough space while walking on the hallway. You need to also have sanitation stations. I know you have been told that they need to wash their hands before they come into the school. We are all aware of that. I don't want to go into the safety rules now. there should also be designated isolation room. Let me explain this because it's very important. The Lagos State government is not expecting us to build isolation centers. No. What they have recommended is that you have a particular room isolated from the classroom that is not too close to the classroom, where you can keep the students in case anyone is maybe, if we discover that one of them is having COVID-19. But I pray that by God's grace, that will not be the issue in our school in Jesus' name. But that's the requirement. Have a place designed as isolation room. And what are the composition? What are the things you are expected to have in the isolation room? You're expected to have normal, the beds should be there, medical facilities should be there, and you're expected to also have at least a teacher or an health officer who will attend to the person with COVID-19 if any case is discovered. The person that will stay with the child also has to be kitted, has to be protected. We'll talk about that by the time we get to number 4. Schedule for student courts, including drop off and pick up, has to be done.
Hello, sir. We're not hearing you again. Hello, sir. We're not hearing you again. Okay, just give us a few minutes. It looks like network has cut out again. Sorry, apologies for this. Hello, sir. You're welcome back, but we're not hearing you. I think you're still muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I'm sorry for this. That's what Mr. Adapo said the other time. The issue of network is a major issue. But the Lord will help us. Okay. Okay. We have discussed, let's just go ahead because of time. Okay. Let's go to attendance, operation plan. We have the health safety plan. Let me start with health safety plan. Attendance monitoring plan is very important. We need to have also incident reporting. The incident reporting is if there are issues in our school, you must have a place where such issues are reported. You also need action plan for isolating suspected COVID-19 cases. You need to have action plans to do with who do you report to? Who is the first person you are going to call if something happens? Where do you take them to? Who will be in charge? Number 2, sanitation and PPE. There must be a personal protective, gadgets for those people that will stay with them or for any students that may have COVID-19. So there must be evidence of adequate PPE for both staff and students, minimum of 3 for students. There must also be schedule for individual cleaners in the school. Can we move to the next slide? Plan 3, learning plan. Distance learning, that is medium of learning, can be WhatsApp now for those people that will try distance learning. We can have medium of, we can have WhatsApp, we can have Teams, we can have Google, we can have learning pockets, among others. I think Mr. Adap also mentioned that. However, you need to ensure you outline your plans so that at the end of the day, they will see what you have in plan, what you have in mind for the students. Curriculum and content, or curriculum content and delivery map. There must be evidence that learning content has been added to digital platform. You may want to teach physically, but it's also expected of you to ensure that those students that will not be in school, there's adequate care for them. So you can also, you need to ensure that you have a timetable for them. I think Mr. Adap also mentioned that. Assessment and remediation plan. You need to have a way of assessing yourself at the end of the term. However, the DG mentioned the fact that we are starting SS3 first term, SS2 first term, or maybe our classes in first term. You need to look for a way of assessing your students who will be moving from SS2 to SS3, GS1 to GS2. You can use the best way, you can use the best method. You can use assessment, you can organize exam for them if you desire, but look for a way to assess your student as they move to the next class. Next slide, please. The 4th plan is data and communication plan. When you are filling this online registration, the data and communication plan, there are some major things you need to also outline and take note there. Number 1, the parent list with phone numbers as well as emergency contacts. You are encouraged to have nothing less than 2 phone numbers because some phone numbers may be off at a particular time. If possible, get the phone number of both parents, the father and the mother. Number 2, the staff list with phone numbers as well as emergency contacts. You need the staff list and the phone number of your staff members. In addition to the phone number of your staff members, you also need emergency contact lists, maybe for their wife or for their children. Number 2, regular communication and responses. There must be policy for reporting changes to learning operations and managing suspected COVID-19 cases. There must be policies. And there must be, like I said from day one, a way in which such crisis will be managed. Next slide. Alternative learning models for safe distances. Mr. Adakwa explained this, but let me just read. As schools and learning facilities reopen, they must implement safe distancing measures that minimize and isolate risk. As such, they may offer some alternative, you can use some alternative methods. You can be flexible as much as possible. But it is important to point out that all these models are premised on the belief that learners who require additional support or have disabilities are not at disadvantage, or they are not disadvantaged. We need to also learn that some are kinesthetic learner, some are visual learner, and some are auditory learner. Some may also be handicapped in one way or the other. We must ensure that any alternative learning models we adequately care for all our students. Next slide. I'm going to show you the examples now. Next slide. Thank you. We have outdoor learning. We can have staggered attendance. We can have alternate attendance. We can have platooning. We can decrease interaction one way or the other. Flexible schedule, creative delivery. Next slide. I think the most important thing we are trying to say here is let's ensure that at the end of the day, the classroom is well structured, or the learning that is taking place is done in such a way that the students are learning and we are not, one student is not at advantage over others. I'll quickly run through this. These are what you're going to see in the list. Some are, you're going to click whether you have done them or whether you have not done them, whether they're applicable or not applicable in your school. Next slide now. I'll just read maybe one or two of the checklists, then we'll go ahead, or we may round up from there. I'll move to the first checklist. In your building and school premises, the school building structures is stable, secure, and in good condition. You will see this there. You are expected to click yes or no, or not applicable or nil. Is there any public display of banner, poster to promote social distancing and orientate learners and teachers on preventive measures? You will tick whether yes or no. But what they are trying to tell us is there's need for us to display a banner or a poster to promote social distancing and orientate learners, or give them an orientation of the preventive measures. So let's ask ourselves, do we have in our schools? If we don't have in our schools, there's need for us to put this in place. Has the school environment been fumigated, disinfected, or decontaminated? Some people ask questions that local government, they are asking schools to come and to ensure that it's the local government that is fumigating their school. The Commissioner of Education said it's not compulsory that it must be the local government that will fumigate your schools. The only thing is get accredited fumigators to fumigate your school, and then you have certificates that your school has been fumigated. The next point. There is functional water system and adequate number of water taps for all students. This is also very important. And please ensure that there is adequate water for them to wash their hands from time to time. Someone asked, must there be wash hand basin in all classrooms? The answer is no. But let it be very close to the classroom in such a way that the students will be able to wash their hand. When they go for a short break, they can wash their hand before they go to the classroom. And it's not compulsory you use a wash hand basin as such. If your school cannot afford the normal wash hand basin, you can improvise in such a way that there's no contact. You can improvise by using plastic with a tap. The most important thing is there's a channel where water can flow and the students are safe. Next slide. Waste is properly managed and disposed regularly. Next slide. Ensure that waste is also properly displayed. Now, safety and security. Here you'll be answering yes, no, not applicable, or nil. The first question there is the school is fenced with only one entry and exit. If it is yes, let's put yes. If it is no, let's put no. I think it's just for security measure. If your school is fenced with one entry, you can write 1. If it is more than 1, well, you write what is applicable. Now, entry and exit into the school premises are secure and well managed by security personnel. If they're applicable, please tick. Hand sanitizer, wash hand basin with running water are available at the entrance into the school premises. You can tick whether yes or no. Those are the parameters. Those are the rubrics. And when they come to your school, these are what they will check, and they will tick themselves. Are infrared thermometers provided for temperature checks at the entrance into the school premises? They will ask. And I want to enjoin school to please ensure that they check the battery of their thermometer. Sometimes the battery of the thermometer may not be good. Please, let's ensure that we do that so that we don't, when we are trying to check parents' temperature, we don't give them wrong impression. We don't create unnecessary alarm. Next slide. Access to school premises by visitor is controlled and monitored using a register. There must be registration for all those that comes into our school now. Just like they told us in churches to do the same thing. When visitors are coming in, enjoin them to register. I was in a school, I think on Monday, and a parent was told to register, and the parent was like, why should I write my name again? We need wisdom in dealing with them, especially when it was the security man that was giving instruction that they should write their name. So I want to suggest that maybe you allow a teacher to stay with the security men at the entrance, just maybe at opening, so that the parents can oblige. Number 3 is classroom, halls, and laboratories. The first question there is, the classroom are adequate, properly ventilated, and suitable for physical distancing? You need to tick whether yes or no. We have been encouraged not to use AC for now. You can use fan and ensure that the windows are open. The hall is or are properly ventilated and suitable for physical distancing. You need to fill yes or no, or not applicable or nil. There's provision for wash hand basin with running water. There is provision of hand sanitizer at strategic location. Now listen, the sanitizer is not supposed to be at the entrance alone. It should be at strategic locations. Please, let's take note of that. Next slide. The desk and the chairs are arranged to ensure 1 meter spacing between learners. It's very important. It's very important. We need to ensure the social distancing. And like Mr. Ladapo said, if your school can, if your classroom can contain all the students with the required distancing, you can run a full day program. However, when they resume in school, ensure that when they come in the morning, they are not gathered in place. Please ensure you do that. In fact, the Director General suggested that if it's possible, give them the time of arrival. If possible, you can come 7:10, 7:15, or you can also use wisdom to tell them to, maybe the student to stop. Maybe if they are coming with their parents, they can go to different direction in order to ensure that they are not jam-packed in one area. Number of toilets in proportion to number of students. You can look at that as well. You can decide. They didn't give us any number, but it is your responsibility to ensure that the number of students is in proportion to the number of students, or number of toilets is in proportion to the number of students. Hygiene of the toilet is maintained regularly. You need to also look at this very well. You need to ensure that the disinfectants and cleaning materials are kept away from learners. Next slide. I need to also use the use of the toilet is monitored by designated individual. There must be someone assigned, next slide, to take care of the toilet. Sport facilities, so playground, so swimming pool. All safety instructions pertaining to use of equipment and facilities are displayed prominently. You must ensure they are displayed. In fact, we were encouraged not to use swimming pool now if it is possible. If it is possible. But if you know, you can ensure that the water not necessary things that have been done were good. Special care, caution, and continuous supervision of team facility, playground, and swimming pool, very important. You must ensure you put those things in place, and you must have a written document for all this. Next slide. The facilities and equipment are safe, clean, and maintained regularly. You must ensure that they are maintained regularly. Next slide. It is your responsibility to ensure that is done and is done well. Let's just go to the next slide. Health safety checklist. The reason why we are showing all this is because those are the things you will see in the registration, the online registration form we are going to fill. We are indirectly telling you what you will meet ahead. So if you can go through all this, by the time you are doing your registration, it's easier for you. On first aid box, the school has a first aid box which requires supplies for emergency. Teaching and non-teaching staff are trained in administering first aid. The first aid box is easily accessible. Next slide. And I'm very sure many of us, we are aware that we need to have maybe a nurse or maybe a medical personnel that should always be on ground, at this time. Sick bay stroke school clinic. The school has a school stroke clinic or sick bay. You need to say yes or no. But please take note that aside your school clinic or sick bay, the isolation room should be separate from the school clinic. The school clinic is meant for everyone that is maybe sick, but the most important thing you need to learn is that the isolation center is different. So you need to ensure that isolation center is meant for those ones that possibly you are thinking maybe you have detected maybe COVID-19. You can isolate them there. You don't take them to the sick bay or to the school clinic. The school has a medical personnel or nurse to handle emergency. The school clinic is equipped to handle medical emergency. The emergency medical care number are displayed at prominent location. The school is able to call for and utilize ambulance services. I'm going to stop here because of time. Other questions, we can just we can send the PowerPoint presentation we can send to you. The essence of this is just for us to look at what do we need to put in place, what have we not put in place. For example, the next one has to do with communication. You need to look at whether you have some of those things in place or you don't have them in place. I pray that the Lord will help us in Jesus' name. Thank you and God bless you. Sarah.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jide, who's going to facilitate the Q&A. So if anybody has any questions, please put it in the chat or raise your hand so we can address those questions before we close for today.
All right, thank you, Mr. Oludipe, for your time and words of encouragement. Do we have questions? If you have questions, let's put it in the chat. Or if you have something that you want to say, you want to contribute to what has been said, you can raise your hand. We'll unmute you for you to say one or two things. So I'm expecting questions. I've not seen any questions for now. Questions, please. Okay, I have a question for you, sir. What happens to a preschool without a sick bay or isolation room?
I'm going to answer.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
In Lagos, currently, only students in primary sessions and secondary sessions are allowed to resume. those in nursery and kindergarten are not expected to resume now. However, I would suggest that you create a classroom for maybe those in secondary school or primary school. It doesn't need to be a big place that is mapped out as a sick bay. It's expected, and you're expected to also create that. And in addition to that, isolation room is still very important. That's the requirement. And please, I would advise that you create a classroom for that, or create you can create a classroom for that. If you have a library, may I suggest to you that creating a for a while, I know, like Mr. Adap also said, it's just for a while. And after this pandemic period, we can go back to the use of our library, or you go back to the use of our laboratories, or some.
So we didn't get the last thing you said.
Okay. I said, for now, sick bay, or you call it recovery room, is very important. It's a requirement of Lagos State. And I said, in addition to have the isolation center, it doesn't necessarily need to be a big classroom. It can be a small classroom demarcated for that purpose, especially sick bay. Students should be able to go and complain to the nurse if they have headache. They should check their temperature from time to time. It's highly important and compulsory. It's not negotiable at this time. So please ensure that they are created. And for nursery and primary, for those in nursery and pre-nursery, they are not expected to resume for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Another question. Our templates for the plans were not available after online training. How do we get the templates?
We have here, and they are all in my PowerPoint, just like what I just presented now. If you're an ACSI member school, after this period, we can send to your WhatsApp group. And if you're not a member, please, you can send your information to info@acsinigeria.org, info@acsinigeria.org for such information. However, we would like if you also join ACSI Nigeria. Thank you. God bless you.
So I think the person is asking for the templates for the 4 plans that you went through. The 4 plans, that the templates on how to. I think the person meant on how to write out those things for submission. There were no templates online. And so the person is asking how they could get the templates.
All right, we sent some phone numbers to you, and you can check the platform again for the phone number. Please, you can ask for more information on the templates. And if you want to also contact me after now, please feel free, because I also have access to them. I can also ask them for the template. I thought you are talking about the template of all we have discussed now.
Another question, what is comprised in the PPE required for students and staff?
Thank you very much. The most important thing for now is your nose mask, or a mask that you can use to cover yourself. There must also be running water. Someone asked the same question. There must be running water where the staff and the students can always wash their hands. You may not necessarily have to have an overall. You don't necessarily need to have an overall, but if you can have an overall wear, that is fine. But if you don't have the overall wear, you can definitely have, number 1, the nose mask. You need to also have sanitizer. You also need to have a place where there is a running water where you can wash your hand from time to time. Those are the 3 basic things that we were told that an isolation room must have. It can have first aid if you have. You can have maybe just basic first aid materials. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Oludipe. We really appreciate you for the time. It's important to note that all these things that have been said, it is not compulsory that there are some that are very important for us to meet, and there are some that they are not necessary for us to meet. Depends on what works for us, especially when it comes to the blended learning. So we would like at this point, is there any other question? Any other question?
Maybe I should just come in here before we ask further question. Please, if you have issue with registering your school online, you have been told you can do that in the morning or late in the night. Number two, if you have issue with registration, we have supplied you with the email address you can send your email to. You can also call, you can send WhatsApp also. That will go a long way to help. But if after trying these three and it's not working, please feel free to contact ACSI Nigerian office. We'll be willing to help you. But please ensure you have tried all these other methods and we'll be willing to assist. That is why we're in the office to assist you. Thank you.